Aloha, welcome to DOM Calculator Walkthrough. So I'm going to show you what my approach to the DOM Calculator problem from scratch would be. This isn't specifically a lesson about testing, but I'm going to be doing some testing in this. I'm not going to spend any time talking about syntax or anything in Cypress, but hopefully it'll give you some ideas about how testing in this sort of situation might work. Any questions before we get started, or anything you want to make sure that I don't miss? Banging. All right, let's do it. All right, so I have DOM Calculator pulled down right now, and if I go over here and click on buttons, nothing happens. Exactly what we'd expect. So I am going to first install a testing framework. And so the way that I'm going to use a tool called Cypress. I have a bunch of videos on it on the site if you want to see more, but I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to initialize this as a node project. Then I'm going to npm I Cypress. And then I am going to do it over here. I'm going to npx Cypress open. It'll go, this looks like your first time using Cypress. We made a whole bunch of shit for you. So I'm going to delete all that stuff that they just made for me by going into this folder and deleting it. I'll make a file called spec.js in there. And then we should, beautiful. So if I run that spec, no tests, beautiful. So first test, I'm looking at the README. Click on an operand or operator button to append its corresponding text to the screen. So, fair enough. We'll say, let's see, appending numbers. So we'll say it should add 1 to the screen when clicked. So if I get the, let's see, if I get the button that has 1 on it and I click it, then I should be able to get the screen, and it should have text of 1. Cool. So if I did that right, that should fail, because we just tried that and it didn't work. Yeah, awesome.
What does CY mean? Is that short for Cypress?
It is.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm expecting that to have text 1. Neat. Now we do whatever we need to do to make that test pass. Hang on just a second. Hey Duncan, can you go downstairs, buddy? Can you go downstairs? Thank you. Yes. Can you go downstairs, please? Yeah. Cool, thank you. All right, so one of the first challenges we have on here is that the way that they loaded this, they loaded it up at the top and they didn't defer it, and oh no. So the way that we work around that is by adding an event listener for DOM content loaded. And maybe we want to get the screen. And we want to get the buttons. I'm going to go with a really big one for right now. Let's get all the spans. And then the simplest thing that I can do to make this pass, I'm only testing for one. Cool. How about I just get the button that has one on it? So I'm making an array out of all the buttons that I got. And then I want to find the one that has one in it, and then add an event listener for it for click. And whenever that gets clicked, I want to add one to the text of that. Let's see if that made a pass. Oops, probably should like go to the page and shit first. So what we can do is site.visit localhost 3000. All right, how about now? Oop, I got one up on the screen. That test isn't passing. Let's see. Oops. Get hashtag screen. All right, I got a passing test. Beautiful. So this only works for the number 1. Doesn't do a whole lot for us, but we've proven how that logic flow could work. So now we can make that a little bit more broad. So maybe I do something like, and also it should add 9 to the screen when clicked. So we click on the button that has a 9 in it, and we should see 9. All right, I got another failing test. So what if I add an event listener to every button and I have it add its event target text content? So that might be something like buttons for each button All right, does that work? 2 passing tests. Beautiful. Now I don't need this one anymore, which is nice. And I can also refactor these tests a little bit. So before every one of these, I want to visit the site. I can put that there. I might also want to assert that if I get the screen, it should have nothing on it. All right. Am I still green? I'm still green. It's a beautiful thing. So now I should be able to click any one of these and make them show up on the screen. Not bloody bad. Questions so far?
Can you just show your code?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the $ you have in front of?
So the $ doesn't do anything special. It is just a character. This will work just as well without them. For example, if I take that out, and that out, Oops, something it didn't like. Button is undefined. Oop, anybody see it?
Yeah, the for each.
There it is. Thank you. Cool, still works without the dollar signs. But the thing I like about the dollar signs is it is a note that the thing that's being stored in that variable is an element. Not a number, not a string, not an object, not anything else. It's an element. It's a holdover from jQuery times, and so devs of my generation, you'll find do that pretty often. But I still like it. You don't have to do it. You won't get in trouble for not doing it, but I think it improves readability. Other questions?
When you do the query selector all, that's an array of nodes, right? And what
Correct.
scenario would you actually need to convert it to, just like a regular array?
Great question. So let's take a look at what's in the array of nodes. Because yeah, it's not the same as an array, but it's pretty similar. So if I take a look at this node list and look at its prototype here, these are the things that I can do with it. So I can each through it just fine, but I can't filter, I can't find, I can't map, I can't do lots of other things. But if I just need to do something to every element in that list, I can do it that way. But you'll notice when I was doing the find before, I had to spread it into an array like that. That is the same thing as array from or any of the other ways we can turn a node list into an array. But that one's my favorite. Good question. What else? Cool. So one of the problems that we have now, and the next thing that we need to do, is this will add this stuff to the screen just fine, but it'll also add all the symbols in ways that don't necessarily make any sense. So let's see, what's a test that we could write that would help us with that? We might say something like, so what did I just do? There we go. We might want to make another set of tests that are like appending operators. So maybe make some different rules for these. Should probably start the same way. And so our rule for operators is probably something like, one of them at least, we can't start with one. It can't add an operator unless the last thing entered is a number. I don't know if I like the description of that test, but it gives us a place to start. So the way that I would test this, easiest way would be just to try it now. If I say, if I get the thing with a plus on it and click it, then nothing should show up. Cool, I got a failing test. Why is it important that I see the test fail first?
So you know the test is working?
Yeah, because otherwise, if it passed without me writing anything, well then why the fuck do I need to write anything? It's already doing what I think it should do. All right, so if I click that, I should see nothing. So the easiest way I can think of to do that would be to maybe narrow down my buttons a little bit. So right now I'm getting every span, but I have spans with this operator class and spans, yeah, Everything else, anything that's not an operator is a number. Well, I have a way that I can select that. I could say span not operator. Cool, I got a green test. So now what's happening is I can add these numbers, but if I click the other stuff, all those operators, nothing happens. Cool. So now it would probably make more sense to call these numbers. And you guys know my rule. If that's plural, I should use the singular for inside there. Cool, that looks all right. So now I need one maybe for operators. So maybe I want something like that. All right. So let's see. What's the next test I can write? I could say it can add an operator if the last thing entered is a number. And so maybe I put a 1 in and then put a plus in, and I should see 1 plus on the screen. And I got a failing test. Beautiful. So to make that test pass, what if I operators for each operator and I say operator add event listener, and what I want to do is I need to check to see if the last thing that was entered is a number. So let's see. Maybe I grab last character is screen.text content is split, and oh shoot, I can't do negative lookups in JavaScript. Cool. Let's say screen characters, and then say last character is screen characters and then I want to get
You could do screen characters length. Oh yeah, length -1.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we'll do it that way. If let's see, no, that'll work. Cool. So that gives us the last character, and now I want to find out if that last character is a number. A few different ways we can do that, but I'm going to go with a regex. So I'm going to say if it is 0 through 9, then I want to test the last character. And so if that comes back as true, then that means that it matched that pattern. Otherwise, it didn't. So that should be a pretty good place to start. I'll write that as an if. then I can say screen text content plus equals event.target.text content. All right, how are my tests looking? I see fields of green. Awesome. And if I add, hey, pretty cool, starting to get a calculator here. So now, next thing I can think of that we need is some of the operators are special. So like equal and clear are sort of special cases of that, right? So maybe what I do, let's do clear first. Anytime I'm writing test cases, I always try to do the easiest one first. Describe operator actions. So we can say it clears the screen when clear is clicked. All right. Well, let's see. Oh, hold on. I'm going to try a new Vim trick I've been practicing this weekend. Well, I want to grab the stuff in that before each block without moving up there. So if I do -17 to -20, copy to line 32. Oops, that probably didn't do what I wanted. And it didn't. All right. Ooh, that's because it's T, not C. All right, I'm going to try that again. That isn't a backwards range. Ah, fuck it. All right, just trying stuff. Okay, so it goes to the site. So I need to have something on the screen. So if I click 1, and then I click C, it's capital C, I think, yeah. Then, here, I'll see if I can try that one. Line, oh, it's because these are actual line numbers. Are they? Weird. All right, so if I try line 35 and yank it, there we go. So, all right, that should give me a failing test. Got a failing test, beautiful. All right, so if it's a number, if the last character is a number, then you can add it to the screen. That's the case if it's like plus, minus, multiply, or divide, but if that let's see, if the event .target.text content equals C, I probably want to return, or I want to blow out whatever's on the screen. And then probably just return. All right, did that do it? All right, cool, we got it. Hey! So next thing we want to do is equals. It runs, it calculates the result when equals is clicked. So for this one, we could say something like 1 plus 9, and then we want to click equals, and on the screen we should see 10. All right, do we have a failing test? Beautiful, it's gonna fail. Ha-cha-cha. So I could probably do something just like I was doing before. And I can say that this is maybe, so we eval screen.text content green, 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 green. Beautiful. That's a sort of working calculator. So if I -5 equals, cool. So we got some stuff, but it's not the whole story. Who can tell me where this is like going to break?
If you try to do more than one operator?
That's also a case we're going to need to test for. What else? Even sooner than that.
Order of operations, or oh, I guess it won't.
Eval will respect order of operations. How about this X and this division
Oh,
symbol?
is it going to make that not an asterisk?
Correct.
You all see it's an X.
Yeah, so if I do 5 times 5, it doesn't know how to handle that. Cool. So now, calculates the result. So we can say calculates a sum when equals is clicked. All right. What about calculates a difference when equals is clicked? So we could say 9 minus 1 should be 10. Should be 8. But still important to see that the test fails. Okay. And then we should say it calculates a product. So we can say 2 times 3 is 6. Oop, couldn't find the button. Glad I checked. Is that a lowercase? That's a lowercase. Sloppy. All right. What didn't it like? Clicking. Ah, yeah, it would, because it doesn't know how to eval that. So, got a failing test. So we can probably add another case in here. And we want to plus equals star. Cool. Let's see if it passes. Cool. Green tests. Last one. Can it calculate a quotient? So 8, 4, Unicode for division is 00F7. So this is 00F7. There we go. All right, gave me a failing test. So now if it's seven. All right, then it should add that to the screen. Cool. We're green all the way across. Beautiful. So now, that function is looking gross as hell. So now it's time to refactor it. So I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to refactor a couple things. First, let's yank this for each out. So we can say something like add event listeners, add number event listeners, or add number, let's do singular first. And this is going to take an event in. And now this one can just be add number event. Oops, I did these wrong. So that's going to be still going to be click. And the thing that happens when we click there is append number. Like that. And then the add event listeners is going to be that other function. We can say add number event listeners. And that's going to be here. It's going to take in number as an argument. Add number event listeners. Okay, cool. Got those ripped out. Now this one. So this is going to be when an operator gets clicked, we want it to perform operation. So we had a function for perform operation. And it takes in an event, and then otherwise, no. Perform operation. Cool. And then I can also abstract out that other one and say add operation event listeners. Cool, very neat. I can move this up here. And now I'm starting to tell the story of this app a little bit. For each of the numbers, add number event listeners. For each of the operators, add operation event listeners. So then for this perform operation, now that we have this thing kind of split out, how can I make this better? Anytime you end up with a bunch of, where you're checking the same things like this, might be tempted to do something like a switch, and that'll work. Event.target.text content, and then just write a bunch of cases. And that's fine, but the switch syntax is trickier than the if syntax, and it doesn't reduce complexity at all. Versus, anybody remember from our refactoring walkthrough on this, what does reduce complexity?
Something about a dictionary?
Something about a dictionary. Dictionary lookup. So if I call this operations and put it in an object, a dictionary is something with key value pairs. You know, kind of like what we call an object in JavaScript. But a lot of other languages will call that a dictionary instead. So what I want to do here is I want to take these operations, or these different values. I'm going to make those the keys, and then the things that I want to happen with those, I want to make those the values. So I could do something like, all right, for C, I'm going to make that equal to a function that does this. And now I can look up that behavior by looking up C on that object. So if I do something like operations at C, I get that function back. And if I have that function, I can call it. That's how we're going to clean this up and reduce some complexity. So, all right, I have that as an operation. I can make the syntax for that a little bit tighter too. In JavaScript, those were the exact same things. That and this are identical. As is that. I'm going to show you that again. That is the same thing as this. Just tighter syntax. All right, well, if it's C, I want it to do that. And if it's equals, I want it to do what just happened there? Oh, I see. I want to do that. And then if it's X, I want it to, let's see, that's line 32. 32 yank. Cool, and if it's the division symbol, I want to, what's the one for that? Line 36, I'll take 36 and yank it. And yeah, see the other ones will probably just work. So I want and now I want a default. So I'm going to call this just default, and I'm going to have this take in a character. And add it like that. And now I can get rid of all the rest of this. Cool. So I don't need these two. I'm going to move those down there. All right, so I have this collection of operations now. They are equal to a bunch of different functions. And I have whatever the character is with event.target.text content. So if I did something like operation equals operations at event.target.text content, that is going to give me, if I have C equals X or the division symbol, that's going to give me back those functions. Otherwise, if it doesn't find a match for that, then I want to get operations at, oops, what language am I writing here? At default. And then if I say operation and pass in event.target.text content, it'll get ignored on the other ones that aren't using it, but it'll work out on that default one. And cool. So we still need to handle this like not starting things with equals signs, but we cleaned up those operations pretty nicely. So let's do this. If the last character is a number, let's see. Might be able to put everything inside that if statement. If I just did this. All right, let's see what that does to our tests. Oops, somebody didn't like. All right, I got an errant fat arrow somewhere. That one looks okay, that one. Just those two. Oh, I see why. So you don't actually need it anymore on this one. All right. Uh-oh, more syntax errors. So I got mismatch. There we go. All right, what now? Uh-oh. Unexpected string. Sometimes those errors are easier to read in the actual browser because it doesn't swallow them. Oh, unexpected string on line 23. Oh, it's because I need colons after those. All right, that loaded without any errors. Let's see if this will load without any errors. Green checks, green checks, green checks, green checks, green checks. So that's a refactoring. We have tests. We got it working, hell or high water. We had nested ifs. We had whatever we had. And then we kept it green while changing the code. Cool. So if I just poke around on this app, should be able to do some good stuff. I do 1 plus 6 equals 7 minus 5 times 9 divided by 2. Cool. And then I can clear. I knew all the basic stuff that I would need to do on a calculator. So some things that I didn't do is right now you can start things with 0, which you probably don't want to be able to do. So like, all right, maybe we have a special handler for 0 that's different than the other numbers. You can probably also add operators. Oh, no. Beautiful. Oh, that's right, because we're already catching it with the like, is the last thing a number deal. Clear isn't working in that case. There's like a couple like little things, but that is a general approach that we can take to something like this. Hit me with some questions.
Yeah, so can you talk about your if statement that has the regex in it?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I could bust that out into like an isNumber utility that takes in a character and does something like this. And now that if statement would look like if isNumber last character. So that's the same thing. All that thing was doing was testing whether or not a given character is a number. And so the way you'd read this is the thing between the slashes is, it's called a regex literal. So we're doing it in place. Anything between two slashes like that gets interpreted as a regex. And then the square brackets are called a character class. And so it's going to match anything that is part of that class, and we're using 0 through 9. So if I want to check if it was a lowercase letter, I could do A through Z. If I want to check that it was the letters I or E, I could do that. Or you can do these ranges like 0 through 9.
Can you do custom ranges like 3 through 5?
Absolutely. That is totally fine. I could also do 3 through 5 as well as the letters R, P, and capital F. And now if it's 3, 4, 5, R, P, or capital F, that'll return true.
Okay, so they all get like pushed up right against each other like that.
Correct. And if we didn't have them in the square brackets like that, this would be, does the sequence ABCD exist anywhere in the string I just got passed? Versus this, which is, are the characters A, B, C, or D anywhere in that string?
And this just returns as true or false, right?
Correct. That's what test does. There's also ones that will like give you what the actual matches were, or help you find out how many matches there were, like various things like that. This will just say, cool, true or false. If I test this against that regex, did it return true or false? And so that lets me use something like this, is the last character a number?
And then when it returns true, you run the implementation.
Otherwise, skips the block.
Are text content and inner text aliases?
No. I'm not exactly sure what the difference between those is, but text content is semantically more correct. I'm not sure what outer text would ever be. Like outer HTML includes the wrapping element. So if I go, I want this div's inner text, the div itself isn't included in it. But if you get its outer HTML, or sorry, if you get its inner HTML, it's everything inside the div. If you get its outer HTML, it includes the div also. But like another way I could have written this one, this is like getting into the territory of being a terse JavaScript asshole. But we could also have done it like that. And now it's a one-liner. That's getting a little precious. I might not accept something like that in a code review from someone, but you could do it. What else? You? Somebody didn't like about that.
So right now when you're hitting the multiply button, it's popping up the asterisk and the X.
Yeah. Let's see if I
Is
can
that-
fix that. There we go. So another way we could have done that is, let's say, no, but I wanted to show the X and the division symbol on the thing. Okay, well in that case, we can just append those directly. And so we do something like, if we comment those out, it's not going to try to do a special case for them. But then we need to handle it in this. So what we'd probably want to do here is modify the string from screen to just replace all of those, which we could do with something like current screen equals screen.text content. And then parsed screen equals current screen.map. I think we probably need to convert the string to an array before we can do that, but we can. So we map over it, and that'll map over each character. Like that. And we could say something like character, well, shoot, we could even just like put another dictionary in there. So we can say something like operator mappings, and then X is times, and that division symbol is that. And we can say if operator mappings character gives us anything back, then return operator mappings at character. Otherwise, just return whatever the character is. So what we're doing in that is, if it's not one of those two characters, we just kind of let it go through untouched. Otherwise, we transform it into that, and then eval whatever the parsed screen result was. And let's see if that stays green. Oop. Ah. it when I did that, it kept. Let's see. It kept exploding it like that, turned it into it gave it commas in between the numbers. So that would actually be something more like, let's see. Yeah, see what it's doing there. Okay, so all that's fine. And then it tries to put commas in between those. So I wonder if I can just rip those out too. If it's a comma, return nothing. All right. No, not quite. Anyway, you have to explode the string differently, but you could do something like that also to swap them out during the evaluation instead of putting them onto the screen that way. Other questions? Oh, I know why it's doing that. Because we've got to join them when we do the eval. Actually, I'm going to do it there. Yeah! I see fields of green. So if you did like the those characters more, we could do something like 9 divided by 3, and now we've got those characters in there. You could also do so that whenever something gets added to the screen, we add some space too. So that would be like, this would be part of our default. Plus equals something like that. And now, it did it after the operators, didn't do it after the numbers. Guess we'd have to do that there too. Yeah. More questions?
Yeah, I have a quick one. So when you use event target text content, instead of like target value, is that just making it so it's just like the value, but it's a strings?
I'm sorry, say that again?
So when you do event.target.text content,
Mm-hmm.
I'm also familiar with like the dot value one. What would like the use case scenarios be between both of those?
A value comes from inputs.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, if you're just pulling it in from any rando element, it's text content instead.
All right, thank you.
Cool, what else? I just realized how I could get that to work. So if I do that, and then that, maybe. 8 minus 4. Cool, I got spaces working. Do the tests agree? Oh, it's having a hard time with the spaces on that now. Anyway, that gives you an idea of like how this problem could be approached. Hopefully this was useful.
Yeah, really useful. Thank you.
Cool. All right, have fun in study hall.
See ya.
Thank you.
Cheers.